Hello, everybody. Welcome to our series where we're going to discuss Revit. So, it's a brief series tutorial, kind of beginner tutorial to get everybody to see how you would work in Revit. Kind of what we do every day for like architecture. So, this is mostly based architecture, but it's a kind of a brief introduction to Revit overall for everybody. So, you guys like what you guys see, click and subscribe somewhere here. Really helps me out to understand what you guys want to see. A lot of my content is focused on gym and architecture. So we'll go ahead and get started. So if you guys don't know, Revit is the industry standard for architecture, and in the U.S. mostly, and around the world. Some parts you still use like Vectorworks, or there's an ArchiCAD, or there's another one, I forgot the name. But Revit is pretty much a standard. And how usually it works is most companies have like a 2-year, 3-year time span. So it's usually 2 years from where the latest Revit is. So if Revit's 2026, most companies are in 2024 right now, and they'll update once it gets to I think 2028. They'll update to 2026, etc. Usually they skip odd numbers. Very negligible differences between all the different kind of years. The biggest difference was probably 2023, 24. So yeah, so that's how we are. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll see kind of the UI of how it looks. Yours might look a little different if you're using an older version. We're using Revit 2025 for this project. Let me find it, sorry. We're gonna start the project basically to do where'd it go? I left it somewhere. Architecture. Okay, found it. So for this one, we're gonna kind of build a pavilion that's pretty standard. I think if you're an architecture student, you always start with this kind of pavilion. It's a good pavilion to work with materiality and different kind of layers of architecture overall to give you better understanding of the software you're using. I've used this pavilion for SketchUp, for Rhino, you name it, 3D Max. It kind of works the same way. So we're going to be doing the Mies Pavilion. So, sorry, I haven't updated which picture software you guys use. So that's kind of what it is. It's not a home per se. It's a pavilion, but it demonstrates a lot of architectural principles in terms of expansion, contractions, open, close, and everything. So it's a very neat pavilion. We have some dimensions to this, and we'll use this to kind of scale the overall building. You can see about the person here, she's about 5 something. So I think the overall height will be 8 feet, right? So it's a very good starting project. There's a lot, I want to say there's a lot of information, but there is a pretty good amount of information. We won't go into materiality just yet. We're focusing on the building blocks of Revit, and then in the future videos we'll start with kind of what you're gonna use for like a real work setting, right? So with any job, if you're working in a professional office, we might open your Revit here, and there's 2 kind of different methods, right? There's here, if your company's not on like cloud services yet, they'll have here your models will be saved to the server, so you'll have it here. So if you go to open, it'll tell you, okay, which file do you want to open, right? Usually, you never want to double click a central file. So there's a local file is like, for example, a file that's saved to your personal location where only you have access to it. Central file is like a central model where everybody borrows portions of the model to work on, which is saved to a server on your work server, etc. Right? So it's a good habit to go in older days. It was a good habit to just click open and then go to where that central model was located. Right? That was kind of the go-to. Now, if you have a company that has cloud-based projects, you click here on Autodesk Projects, and you guys will see we have a. Oh, let me refresh this thing. Well, mine is not refreshing now, but it'll pop up here. So this is where your online projects will be, and these are all cloud-based, so it saves everything to the cloud. It's a lot easier. You don't have to worry about if your file crashes, if your BIM Manager is pretty good and starts updating things, right? Okay, so for this project, we're going to start a new project. So when you open a new project here, if your company has a template, this is where you would pick it. So your company can set up templates that are already set up with your sheets, your details, etc. Right? So that's, you would click here and you click browse if you're going to go to pick a template. Revit 2025 has some standard ones. I think we have a residential one too here. So we have residential, multidisciplinary, commercial, and these are pretty good to start with. Like, there's nothing bad about these templates. If you're just starting out on your own, you know, for this one we'll do, let's just say residential, and then we'll click project, and then click OK, and everything's gonna pop off. You'll see the opening. It might take a little bit just because you're opening your Revit file. So this is Revit. Now, of course, it looks a little taunting in the beginning, but it's not too crazy. Let me move this to the side so you guys can see kind of what I'm talking about. Okay. So this area here, this properties area is basically any object. It has options. You can think about it as options. So we click on this wall here. We can draw a wall here. Let's just do a little square box just so you guys can see. Okay. So every item in Revit, Revit. Yeah, Revit has a pro. Let me see if I can move my camera around. Let's see. Is it this one? Yeah. All right, let me move my camera a little bit right here. Okay, there. For this recording, we'll move it here. Okay. Perfect. So we'll move that too right here. Okay, so everything you draw in Revit is like a real life component if you're going to build a building. It's not in 2D, it's all 3D objects. So if you click this little house button here, you can go to a 3D view and you'll see we drew these 4 walls. So since we picked residential, it starts at foundation, etc. So to draw a wall, you click here and that's your wall. You can specify if you want the wall to be at the center, outside, inside. You can specify which floor it starts. So for example, this one was at first floor, but say we want to start our wall at the roof, right? Just for some weird instance. So we can't see it here because we're at the ground level. You can't see the roof floor, right? But when you go to your 3D view, there you guys will see there's our wall. So the way Revit works is when we start a project, the first things you want to set up is going to be your sheets, your levels, and your grid lines. Usually, if it's an older project, you'll have a set of grid lines. If it's a newer project, you're going to coordinate with your structural engineers to set up grid lines. There's also project information. So for example, what I like to do first is set up our project information. So if we click, so first we'll go through all these different ribbons at the top, then we'll go into how to set it up. Here you have walls, so we click down this little option here. Here, boom, you have walls, wall structurals, wall by faces. For your starting out, we're only going to be focused on walls, so we click on wall. You get your options here. You can pick different options for your walls. And once you pick the one you want, let's say we want exterior brick and wood, right? We want it at the first floor, and we can say we only want it to be 8 feet. Oh, sorry. Before I have my num lock on. So this properties tab controls basically any information on that wall before you draw it, but you can do it after you draw it. So here we can see unconnected height, which means you can set up a height for when you're drawing the walls. So you want all your walls to be at 9 feet, we can click 9 feet, 0 inches. Boom. Here it says unconnected. So basically when you're drawing this wall, it's going to start at the first floor and then it's going to keep going. It doesn't connect to any floor, which is helpful in case you have walls that are going to go past the roof, etc. Once you click that, there's no other options here. You can do vertical, etc. So then we can draw a wall. So we'll do this 22-foot wall. Very simple, right? Now you want to see your wall in 3D, click 3D, and there's your wall. As you can see, it starts at the first floor. We could see there. To rotate in this view, you hold shift to orbit. Control is to zoom in and out, and then just the middle button to pan around. And there's our wall. Now you might be thinking, well, it doesn't look too cool, right? So let's switch it to the white canvas because the line work looks a lot better. So you might be thinking, whoa, it's a wall. What's the point? Well, down here we have various options and view settings, right? Right now we're looking at a wall. If it's a 2D representation in this view, right? But we don't see anything, right? We click on the wall, click with your left hand button. We clicked basic exterior wall. So where's the brick? Where's the wood? We can't see it. So most architectural drawings are going to be putting your settings here. So we scroll down here to this bottom ribbon. This is what controls the views, the graphical representation in this particular view. So here's our wall, and we want to be able to see the layers, right? You click here where it says detail level view. You click on that, and then you see you have 3 different settings. So if you want a really detailed drawing, you go to, I think sometimes medium will let you see it, is enough. Medium is enough for like normal drawings, right? If you go fine, you do get a little more detail, but it's mostly for exterior and interior mostly. So here you see our detail level. And this wall is a real-time wall, so whatever it's going to be, yeah, so you can see it's an actual thickness, an actual wall. If we go to our 3D view, and again, we click fine, but you can't see anything, right? You can see, oh, here you go, back here. So you can see the brick pattern is already there. So that's walls, right? So we go back to our first floor. Okay, and it's a good time to bring this up our project browser. So properties controls objects in your model. Project browser controls views and the whole model. So this is where you're going to have all the different views you're going to set up. So for example, if you're going to set up a second floor plan, third floor plan, fourth floor plan, you would set them up here. For now, you can see here on this left side, we have basement electrical, first floor electrical, first floor framing. And this is basically like a coordination view for other disciplines. You wouldn't really do this in architecture. In architecture, we're really just concerned with whatever architects handle, right? But this file in a real world setting, you're going to send your Revit file to like an electrical engineer, and they're going to overlay this file, and they're going to draw their conduits around this, right? So if you want to hop between floor plans, you'll click here, basement, that takes you to your basement. If you click on first floor is where we're at, first floor, and these little tabs on top of here are always going to tell you which view that is. So for example, 3D, basement, first floor, right? These little blue highlights you guys see on the corners, that's always going to tell you if this this particular file is in use. So it'll be closed basement. It's still blue. First floor is still blue, and that means there's probably a sheet that it's on. So these are your floor plans, right? So whenever you make a new floor plan, it'll appear here. And you can't create new floor plans if you go to View, Plans. Here you see all the different types of plans. But that's how these come up. So I just want to really just we'll go back to this. This is just a brief touching on that. So now we have doors. Doors, same thing. See on this left side, you have all this information already built in. If you click on this little drop down menu, you can pick different types of doors. So for example, for here, we'll pick a 36 by 80 door. And you'll see now that once you pick one, it'll go like this. You see a little like cancellation thing. That's because you need to host the door to a wall. So once you go near a wall, you'll see that lets you put it down any which way. But don't worry, it's a building information model. You can change it anytime. So now you see we just placed this door here, right? Well, what if you want the door to switch swings, right? So we click this little button, it switches the swing. What if we want to switch which way? It flips out. Click that, it flips out, right? Also, you see these little dimensions here. We can see exactly where it's at. So later on, when we're getting to dimensioning, you'll see exactly where that door is going to be. Now we go back to our 3D view. There's our door. So now this is a real life active door. I think this was 7 feet high, 3 feet wide. And if we look here, you kind of see it's a very simple door. There's other doors that are more complex. So we go with this one here. You can see here this is a door with sidelights, and these are all standard doors that are included in Revit. If for some reason you can't see any doors, this is what you're gonna do. So we click on doors, and here we have all these other options, right? Apply coping, cut the door, cut geometry, etc. You're not really concerned with these at this level of detail. This is for like later advanced portions. But say you don't have any doors, right, and you want a door. Click on load family, and usually Revit will bring this up. And Revit, if you installed it properly, you'll have a library of different standard components. To find the one you need, you go to Imperial Library, and unless this thing does not have it, where is it? Where are you looking for content? Go to www.autodesk.com or use what? I guess they changed it. How do we load the? Alright, so anyways, older versions you have it here. So you click Imperial and it'll pop up here. You'll have doors, walls, etc. already built in. I guess now they're switching over to like this kind of web-based kind of system, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be under somewhere over here. Anyways, so that's how you get an object then. I don't have any. I have to download the library. So in case you are like me and you downloaded Revit, you don't have your doors in there, you can go to, we'll search Autodesk Family Library 2025 for this one. So whatever your version is, you would look it up, and you go to Autodesk Revit content, and here you have all the different years that you would use to get your content. So if you're missing stuff, go to this and then you download it. Once you download it, you can link it. You could go, if you're going to put in a door, you could click load family, and then you could pick where you're going to load your family from. For this one, we don't have anything because we downloaded a brand new Revit file, so that's how it is. Anyways, that's your doors. Now, Windows, same thing. Windows is, you click here, or you can click the shortcut, which is WN. WN gives you a little X. You can click on either side of your wall. We click there, and we have our window. So if you look at it from this side, there's a window. So now it's pretty simple, right? Let's do a wall. Wall is WA for your shortcut. So we have a dumb little shed, whatever this is. You can see here our walls are inside. So if that happens, you can have the same thing as windows and doors. You have this little click button to switch the sides. No biggie, it happens. So now we look back outside. You see our 3D building is brick on all sides. So that's windows and doors. You also have the ability to add columns. So there's structural columns, which if you're a structural engineer, you're using these, and there's architectural columns. For this, for example, we already have preloaded a 6x8, 8x8. We can do 8x8. And it's the same thing. It'll go here, here. And columns usually snap to grids. We don't have any grids in here, which will be our next topic as we discuss through these. And if we go to our 3D view, you'll see we have 4 columns in there. We'll make this a little bigger. And at any point, you can drag these walls. If, for example, there's many ways to move the walls. The walls are live, real objects, right? So if you want to make a wall bigger, you can click it and drag it if you want. If you're not, you're just practicing, right? Or if you want to be more accurate, you can see here we have this little dimension line down here. You can click on this little, I forgot, it's like a tick mark here. It says make this temporary. So what that does is it makes this dimension live. So if we wanted to make sure that this wall is 40 feet, you click on that. You click inside this little, where the number is. Make sure you click it. Sorry, click on the wall you're going to move, and then click in there. And click 40 feet. Boom. Done. Easy. Same you can do for this one. Click on the little live dimension, click on the wall, click inside, and say 20 feet. So you guys will notice that because Revit is a BIM system, everything moves with it. So this wall, we have these two window and door hosted, right? So this whole thing moves along with those windows, and the door never leaves its position because it's hosted to this wall. Same with if we make it bigger or small, you can make it smaller, but if you try to make it smaller than what this is, it'll give you an error. See, well, not in this instance, but here we do it there. I guess not for this, but it'll usually give you an error, right? So that's kind of the basics of moving stuff. So you can always drag and drop, or if you want to be more accurate, things of that nature, right? So usually, in my experience, I usually draw things really rough, like everything in place, and then I'll go back and just start making sure that these dimensions are matching the existing plan, because sometimes it's easier to just draw it out and then go back and adjust the dimensions. So that was our columns. So roofs are the same kind of thing. You click on here. It'll ask you, there's a couple options. You can do it by, you can pick the walls, or we can pick our own thing. So we'll go through the two options first. First option, we'll pick a wall, and then you can see here, it gives you the option to click outside or inside. Click there, and click there. And then once you see this little pink line, that means you selected your walls. Right now our slope is 912. And then we click, and then we're going to click our base level. So your base level is where you want your roof to start. So for this, we're going to start at our roof. So there's our roof right there. Click OK. And then we go to our 3D view. You guys will see there's our roof, which is at this instance we did. We're higher because our walls are at 9 feet, right? And you can always adjust this. So if you want to make sure that everything is, say, 412, you can change it here. Or if you see here on this left side where our properties tab is, where it says slope, since it's all one unified slope, we can change it all here to just say 2 by 12. Or we can do 2 inches. And you can type in whatever, 1 feet, 2 feet, and it'll do it. It knows that it's going to be over 12. So we do 4, it'll be 4 over 12. We do 9. So there, it updates automatically. So for this, we'll do 2 just to make sure. And then we're there. So that's how we got our roof, right? Ceilings. So we won't be able to see ceilings in this first floor, right? Because the way Revit works is it's wherever so your floor plan is usually cut at 4 feet. So we have this view here, and if you go to your properties on this particular view, you'll see here there's where is it at? Cut plane. Where's my cut plane at? Here, view range, right? So our view range is where the plan is going to take. So floor plan, we usually cut it at 4 feet above the level, and our top view is going to be the highest amount that we're going to be able to, if you have that it's going to look through. At any point you get confused, click here, and you'll see here it kind of gives you a brief explanation of cut planes and everything. So usually we're going to cut, for example, at 3. Oh, that's our bottom. So this one is cutting at 2. So we're cutting at 2, which is 4 feet above, but we want to be able to show objects below that, right? So our bottom range is usually going to be 0 from the first floor. So that's why you see 0, 0. So it's going to be from 0 to 7'6". We're going to be able to see objects in between. So if you have, like, for example, a ceiling at like 7'6", you'll be able to see the outline on your floor plan. And you can adjust that so you don't see that, which we don't want to see most of the times. But we do want to see, maybe this window is a little bit higher. You want to be able to see it. Or other objects, right? So this is your view ranges. And your view ranges are controlled by they go off your levels. So for ceilings, I think we have a ceiling plan here. Yeah, there we go. So if you go on the left side, if we took residential, we see here we have a ceiling plan. So we go to ceiling plan. That's our ceiling plan, which is a separate file. So, for example, if you wanted to do a ceiling, say we wanted to do So we'll click again on ceilings. We're on our ceiling plan on first floor. And then we're going to go to 2x4. And then for this, you got the same option where it'll highlight everything enclosed in the room. So we click that room, boom, done. There's our ceiling. It's a 2x4 ceiling with all the correct heights and everything. So now we have our ceiling, our first floor, our doors, our windows, right? What else can we do? Well, we have floor, right? Because you're just building the walls, you don't have a floor. There's two types of floors, right? There's a finished floor, and then there's your actual concrete slab, right? Usually your concrete slab, you're going to get it from engineers. But for the sake of this project, let's say we want to add a floor, right? It's going to be a 12-inch concrete. So what we do is we're going to we'll click on floor, which is here. And now it gives you all the options again. You can do circles, you can do squares, whatever. But usually we do pick walls. If you have a very complex shape, then obviously you try to draw it with the line tools. So we click on this wall, we'll click on this wall, we'll click on this wall, we'll click on this wall. So the floor, what's going to do, it's going to bring it at the edge of the structure, of your structural member, right? So let me do paint. So the way these works is that, which is kind of like construction, right? And in construction, you're going to have your slab of, I don't know, concrete, right? And then you're going to have a 2x4, whatever, pressure treated wood here. And then you're going to have your framing, blah, 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 right? Your finish and all the exterior stuff's going to be over this concrete. So in Revit, when you're doing a floor, it's only, if you pick the wall to choose, it's only going to do the floor to your interior structure, right? And that's what you're seeing here. So you're seeing that it's only going to where the stud is. And that's a floor. So that's the floor there. And then we go back to our 3D model. You'll see that now we have a ceiling and a floor right here, a 12-inch slab. And then we can I'll do something to make it easier to look at it. So let me put this down. There you go. So it's a little exaggerated for reasons, but so there you go. You can see there. So we did our floor. It's doing it to the structure of the wall. We have our ceiling here, and we have the roof. And that's basically the main components you're going to use for this pavilion, right? So now that we went through the basics, let's start setting up the project, right? So we'll delete all this. Now, first things we're going to do, and I guess this is part 2, I guess we're going over how to set up this project, right? So we'll start it off, right? So we have images that you guys saw, and so we know kind of basic rough idea. Let's see the floor plan. So this is our site plan of the file, and then we have I don't know, we'll build the site plan here. We'll maybe save it for the next, towards the end. This is our roof plan, and then we have our floor plan. So we can see here, this is what we're attempting to build, right? We know we don't have any dimensions, so we have a scale down here. So we have a scale, which is perfect. And we have a couple of good exterior stuff. So what do? So first things first, we'll import this. So how do you import images and files into Revit, right? First thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Insert. First, let's save this project. So we're going to click File, Save As. And you're going to have many different types of save as here depending on how you're working. Cloud models, if you're going to work with your team in the cloud, and then project, family, and a Revit file. So we're going to do project. And then you're going to click wherever you're going to save it to. For this one, we're going to save it to Revit. Where'd it go? That's where I had it here. A Revit tutorial, right? So you want to be in, if you're working on yourself by yourself, be in the habit of making a folder by itself for this project. Don't just dump it into another file. So we'll call it Mies tutorial Revit. We'll name our file Mies Pavilion, and then we'll click okay there. Alright, so now we're gonna save it. Save as project. Go to Revit tutorials, Mies. Where the heck this? Anyways, we'll, I think it was this one. Call it model for it to be safer. So we'll call it Mies tutorial model, and then click save. So now it's saved to that area, right? Okay. Now, first things first, we have our project. We click residential. Now we've got to bring an image in, and you'll either bring an AutoCAD file or an image or a PDF when you're going to start a project in your firm. So I'm going to go to insert. And here you're bombarded with all these options, right? So you can import another Revit file, IFC, international code. You can bring a CAD file. You can bring in topography, all these different things, right? Coordination models, PDFs, images, import CADs. And the difference between import and linking is when you import the imported file is baked into the Revit file. Well, it makes the file larger. Linking is just taking like a screenshot of that file, bringing it into Revit, and that way you can mess that file up. There's also here it is, load Autodesk family. So this is what I was looking for. So now the way Autodesk has done it for 2025, which I think is pretty cool. Before it was all like local, which took a lot of space. Now if you click on load Autodesk family, you can find anything here, and this is like amazing. Like, so here you can see anything. So let's just say, for example, we want a chair. So we click on chair, and you see here's all these chairs that we can use, which is nice. And it's separated by division, and then you just click on one, and then you click load, and it'll bring it into your file. So before we're trying to look for doors, so we can go door. And you see all these door types that you can bring in. Door handle, door details, which is pretty dang nice, because if you're gonna when you do detail drawings. So we have all these items that we can bring in, right? So that's where load families is. And this is load family. We want to just load a family from your local drive, like if you're gonna download stuff. The insert from file, you can insert views, sheets, and schedules from other Revit projects you have. So say, for example, you had another Revit project that was, let's just say, it had a really good sheet set, right? You want to bring it in, you could do this right here. So for our thing, we want to link in a PDF. So we're going to click link PDF. We'll go to our Revit tutorial, use Rohe Pavilion, go to the planta, which is Spanish for floor plan. And it'll bring it in to our first floor. And this is what's going to pop up, right? It's going to ask you, okay, here's the file. What do you want to bring in? Make sure your DPI is high enough. If you do it too low, you're not going to be able to see the detail. So for this, we'll do 300, which I think should be enough. And it'll give you this little X to drop it in. So the reason you see these little points here, this is our elevations, which we'll get to. So we'll drop it in. Boom. So there's our plan. And if you see, we go to second floor, you're not going to see this, right? Second floor. You don't see anything, right? First floor. Oh, we got to delete this thing. It's our ceiling. But our first floor, here it is. If you go to your 3D view, it's not there. Because it doesn't exist in those views. It exists only in our view that you imported it, which is nice. You don't want to see a bunch of JPEGs everywhere. If you ever want to, if you're not sure, if you gotta, you want to delete this file or replace it, you can go to manage, which is where all your data is handled. So anything that's line styles, text, it's all under manage. If you go to manage links, you'll see here that we have the link here, and it tells you where it's at. And then if you right click, You can reload from, or remove and place an instance. So that's how you can kind of control the files. Sometimes you might have new renders that you want to replace in like a sheet. So you just want to just replace it where it's at the same scale. This is how you do it. Alright, so now we have this. I'm trying to, is this meters? Yes, it is meters. So I believe we can do, so 1 meter is 3 feet. So we know this area. So you can either, there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can either, to scale an object, so we want to scale this PDF right to the correct scale so we can start drawing. You can click here where it says scale right there. And we can click, for example, here, and we want this to be 3 feet. Right? Oh, sorry, I did too fast. Okay. So the way scale works is it takes one point and another point, and then you type in what that point is, right? So, for example, here we click scale. We know that this is a meter, right? So a meter is 3 feet. So what we can do is we're gonna click on our image, click on scale, and then we'll click here, kind of in the middle, and then we'll click here. So it's about a foot, yeah. So okay, so we click there, and now it's asking us for, okay, so what is the distance, the actual distance between these 2 points? So we know it's 3 feet. So now there's our scale drawing. And if you're ever unsure, we can do a line, and you'll see 3 feet. So now this is the proper scale of the drawing. Where's our, I'll move it to the middle because we have the elevation tabs there, right? So once you get it scaled, and we'll do it again just one more time so you guys see. Alright, so this is our drawing. We're gonna scale it, right? But you're not just limited to just, if you don't have a scale like here and say you know that a door is 3 feet, right? Or you know this is 6 feet, you can still do it off of that. So you click again scale, we'll click this edge of the door here, and then we'll click this edge of the door here. And we'll say that we know that door is 6 feet. So we type in 6 and feet, and it'll boom. And there it is. Scaled this drawing according to this door, which is exactly 6 feet. And sometimes that's all you have. Sometimes you might get like a drawing where you don't know the scale of anything, but you might know the dimension of a door. So it'll be a close, like 99, 98% estimate. That's kind of how you do it. And if you want be more accurate, like say, because you know we're just kind of clicking there, you can type in DL, which is a detail line, and just say we want to, from here, we want to scale 3 feet, right? We know so we know this line is 3 feet. So again, click on scale, click on your image, click on scale, and it's the same principle. You can click here and click here. Oh wait, sorry. So click on your image, click scale. Sorry, click, there you go. So for example, this one we can click, I don't know, we can click an edge. Where's an edge at? So we could click that edge, and then we could click there. Come on. And there you go. Sorry, we'll delete that. Anyways, so yeah, that's how we scale the drawings, right? If we want to scale either way, you can scale, you're not just limited to X direction, you can scale Y direction as well. So for this, let's just click on scale, click here, and then we do 3 feet. And we're done. Okay, so now we're gonna move it a little bit to the center. And then a very important thing, if you don't want your object to move, click on it. And you'll see, you click on modify roster up here, and you'll see there's a little pin right here, and that'll pin the object. So now we can't move it in case our drawings, right? So now we got that in there. Let's put some grid lines. So every project's gonna have grid lines. You're gonna work with your architect, your engineer, etc., right? If you go to architecture grids, you'll see that you can start placing grid lines here, and this helps with column placement. So here you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. So we have 8 columns, and then we have some structural members over there. We'll keep it simple. We'll just do the columns here, and then yeah, we'll just do those columns, and then we'll do the exterior, the edge of the slab. So we'll click architecture, grids, and we'll click on anywhere, it doesn't matter, because we're going to copy them over. So I placed it there. So the way I did it is you click grid, click once, and then you can click twice. And that's how you place your grids. You can do either direction. There you go. And the grids relate to each other. So if we move this up and down, it'll move the grid up and down, right? The grids are also smart. So for example, this grid, say we're going to move it to the center of this here, right? If you want to make another grid, say we're going to move 2 more grids, right? We'll do one here, one here. You can click, you can go to modify. This is your copy. Click on that. You're going to click on your object. Click spacebar. You can click multiples and constrain. So we click on just click on any edge. We'll bring it here. You can see we're going to click 6.3. And then it'll keep going, so you can keep going because we hit multiples, and there, and then we'll click. So we'll see where we can click. It doesn't matter where we're at right now. Like you'll see right now, I'm just aligning it to as close to center to these things. So just click anywhere, center them on your drawings. There you go. And then we'll do one more at the edge of this thing here. So you can kind of see it looks all funky, right? So what we can do is, since all the grid lines are 3D linked, you see here we have them here. We can click on one and we'll drag it, and it moves all of them to the top, right? So it's helpful because you just want to place them quick, right? But you want to be able to keep them straight. So we can drag them everywhere, and then we'll click. You'll drag it up till you see like a little line on the left side. You see that? And boom, that locks them all in place. Now we can drag all of these together, up and down. So now we know exactly where those are, right? And those are your grids. But let's just say, for example, you're working on a drawing. For example, this one here, right? You don't want the grid to intersect all the way through your drawing. You can break this one. You click this little key lock here, and that separates that one grid from all the rest. That's kind of how you do that. But if you want to bring it back, you can lock it back in. Boom, locked again, and that's your grid system. You don't even need it. You don't really need it for this, but this is just to show you guys, right? Usually, you have 1A is going to be your corner of your building. So for this one, it's going to be this area here. So we're going to do one more grid. Here, we'll do there. Did I do it straight? I don't know if I did it straight. And then usually, depending on where you work at, which one is going to be letters and which will be numbers. Usually, one will be numbers, so we'll do capital. Always capital. So there's that grid there. And I think for this one, we might only need one here. So click CO. And then we'll need one down here for this edge. And there you go. Now we have our grids in place. And that's the first step. So now we have our grids. We have our file in there, right? We're almost there. So next thing we're going to do is, once you have set up your grid, oh, we're pretty low over here. We'll bring this up right here. So once you have your grid set up, you have your file in, you're okay. Next thing is to set up your levels. The way we do that is usually you can go to an elevation or a section. We have some elevations here, so it's a good way to talk to them about it. So elevations are basically, you saw in 3D, we can see a 3D model. So as you're working your 3D model, you're basically setting up elevations as well. They're automatic. So the elevations usually will be these square boxes you see here. If you click it now, you don't see anything because we haven't built anything, right? So here's your other one. There's nothing there yet because we haven't built anything. But if we do a wall here, for example, you click on this elevation, there it is, elevation. So elevation controls the height of everything in your project. We can modify it. For that, we're gonna probably need to kind of guess. We don't need footing because we're not gonna have a footing here. Let's delete this. We don't need a TO footing, and then we don't need a basement because it's a pavilion. What we do need is we need a let's look at our images. Okay, so we need our first floor is going to be basically this here. And I know there's a space or a gap. And that's going to be our depth of our building. So, trying to find the pictures. Let's see. So I know there's a. It's probably like it's a good chunky. Ooh, some details here. What's that? Give me the exterior view. Exterior view. Here it is. So you can see here it's sloping upward. And then we have about, that looks about to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So it's 8, 7 inches. What the heck? So it's a 4.6. So yeah, it looks about right. It's about 4.5 feet high, right? So that's gonna be our bottom. This bottom part's gonna be our 4.6 feet. So we'll do our foundation. We'll call it. So we'll call it. We can rename these as well. So since we're here, we'll talk about renaming this stuff. So you can, at any time during the process, you can rename any of these elevations, right? We don't have a second floor, so that second floor is probably gonna be our roof. So we can delete. So you want to delete something, just click on it and delete. But make sure it's you're gonna right. We only have our street level, our ground level, and our roof basically. So we'll name this ground or pavilion level. We'll call it nope, call it ground. And then we'll call this one street. And then this will be our roof. So it's a ground, it's a roof, and we know that this is approximately 4 foot 6 inches. Oh, negative, so we want to go below. So negative 4 foot 6 inches. There you go. So that's our floor. So now we go to our first floor, which is our ground floor. Let's just say, for example, or here it is. So let's just say, for example, this whole floor is going to be right at the level, right? So what is this? Does it go like this? I have no idea. I think that goes underground. We'll look at the pictures. This is just an example. So we're doing this. So we did that one at ground level. But we really want this to be at street level. Well, it's going to be really thick, right? So, because well, actually we could do it at ground level. So we want to create a new floor, right? So this is basically our outline. This is just to show you guys how it's going to work, right? So we edit. So this is where our pavilion is going to sit, our floor is going to sit. So we created our floor matches the outline of this pavilion. But now we need to match the thickness, right? This here, thickness that we're seeing here. To do that, we're gonna create a new floor type. So that's a good time to talk about it. So we know, So we know we're gonna drop down 4 feet 6. So that's our floor. We did that online, right? If you guys want to know how we did it, you click on floor here, and then we basically drew it. Let me delete it. So let's just do a recap before we do that again. So we brought in our plan, we set up our grids, we scaled our drawing. Now we're setting up the elevations based on what you know. So if you have already elevations in your existing drawings, you know every height, you can do this that way. For us, we're kind of guessing the height of this, but we know we're going to have our roof at approximately 8, I think that's 8 actually. 8 feet high, and we have our ground level, and then we have our street level. Now, we need to create the floor base that's going to go all the way to the street level. So we go to first floor. We have our plan. You're going to go to architecture. We're going to click on floor. So now it's going to give you this options. How do you want to do it? We're going to click on here, just line. And then we're just going to draw out. You see a pink line, just draw it out. We're going to try to match it exactly where it's at. I'm not too concerned about this. This is a drop down that creates a pavilion. I believe, let's look at that image. I don't think it does this, but I think it goes to here. I'm gonna go like this. And then there. Now we're gonna trace there. And then we'll worry about the pools after. So right now we're just gonna get that rough. Here we know it doesn't go all the way down because you have the stairs, right? These are separate. So we're gonna go to here. Click here, click here, click here. Now we're going to click here and to this edge here. Now we'll wrap it up there. So you guys can see we have a highlighted around what is the main bulk of the floor, right? We do know. So there it is. That's our floor. You see the here. Now we want to edit the floor, right? Because we want it to be 4 feet 6 inches. So we click on your floor that we just drew. Click edit type. We're going to duplicate. We'll call it Mies floor. Click OK. Duplicate. Rename it. And you're done. Then click on structure edit. Here's where you can control the thickness of your floors. You can do really complex floors. Like for this example, we know it's going to be probably 4 or 5 concrete plus about a quarter half inch of stone, right? So you can set that up, but we don't. So in this section you would actually see that small stone, right? For now, let's just focus on just getting the structure right, and then we'll go into finishes. So we're gonna do 4 foot 6 inches, and that's gonna be the overall structure. Click OK, and you'll see the default thickness. We renamed it. Click OK. Now I want to verify, right? Okay, was it really? So here you go. So now our floor is matching the thickness of the ground where the street level is, right? Go to our view. There's your overall footprint of the Mies van der Rohe. And if we go to our here, we can kind of see it matches that exterior view. And now we have stairs, obviously. And then we go to our exterior view. You can see here there's like a plot of land. That's kind of how you get that increasing view, which we're not going to do now, but we can do that later. So that's we're in good shape. The good thing we have a roof too, so we know exactly what's happening on the roof. And that's it. So that's our first part, is how to set up a little brief view. Where's Revit? We went over how to set up, how to bring in an import, whether it be DWG, CAD, PDFs, images, it doesn't matter. We went over how to scale the image to match any 16 scale that you're going to do. Now we went over how to briefly do grid lines, and this probably doesn't matter, but it was good to explain it. And we went over how to briefly do a floor. So now next episode, we're going to start doing how to set up the walls. So we'll go through the walls first, and then we'll go through the stairs, and then we'll go through columns, and then how to do the current panels that you see on the image. So stick around. This is part 1. Part 2 coming up.